How have you been able to manage and delegate? Because you're really good at that, almost overly trusting, I would say, to think people are competent enough one way or another. I remember you're like, "Hey, here it is." I'm like, "I don't really know what I'm doing," but you walked me through it. You're very patient. You're a very patient person. You held my hand. But do you think that is just innate in your DNA that you are just really good at delegating and are comfortable, or do you just hire correctly? You think on the front end where you kind of know what people have in them just from an instinctual perspective, within your gut?
I think it's a combination of all those things. I think we're very passionate about hiring A players. I think it just makes way too much sense to not hire A players, and that affords you the luxury of being more liberal with your delegation. I think there's another element of having a culture of being willing to fail. I wouldn't want to have a work environment where people are scared to fail and they feel like, they don't want to take on more responsibility for fear of failure because they feel like they'll be reprimanded or something like that, right? So everyone knows that if they can't do something, they can just come to one of us or someone at the firm and get help. So that is another strong tool to be able to strengthen your delegation. So yeah, hiring A players, having a culture where people aren't afraid to fail, and then, like you said, patience. That patience is definitely an innate thing. Going back to when I worked with special needs students in school, when I was a piano teacher, when I was a math tutor, I was always patient with that. So I think it's the same thing here.
Well, it's interesting that you're both patient because there's a lot of very intelligent, if you took IQ tests, you gentlemen are both probably higher than, the average percentile of individuals, most definitely. But a lot of very, very smart people are terrible with people, which is a really unique blend that you guys have to, have the sophistication to do really complex, nuanced things while also being very patient and gracious with your time and not, annoying or not getting annoyed by, people who maybe just are a little bit slower like me. I need a little more time with things. It takes me a little bit longer to understand some concepts, but when I have it, I have it.
I think it's also knowing people's limits or knowing where they are, right? So having empathy, because it's communication and empathy. You're going to be frustrated with someone if they don't do what you want them to do, but at the end of the day, it's your fault because you didn't communicate, most likely, what you wanted them to do. So it's communication and then knowing where that person is in their, the things that I'm having you do now, I didn't have you do a year ago, right? And today why, right? It's not like I didn't have that thing to give you back then. It's just I knew in my head that's probably not a wise thing to do, right? So it's knowing how to do that and having that right balance because we do want people to reach up. One of the best things you can do for someone often is to hire or promote them into a position that they're not ready for because it just forces growth, just like how our back was against the wall. And hey, you have to raise money. So it's a similar concept there.